Hello everyone and welcome back to another movie review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Green Book, and I really enjoyed this movie. Just going to get that right out. I'm not going to tell you my score until after you hear my thoughts, but if you would like to see the movie before you hear my thoughts, I will have no spoilers, but if you'd like to see the movie, just leave now, know it's good, and then come back and see what I thought if you're so inclined. So this is a movie about a man named Tony Lip, who's this big, sort of masculine Italian guy from New York who is a bouncer at a nightclub, and then the club closes down and he needs a job, so he's hired as a driver for this doctor who turns out is a musician. He's a piano player who's obviously very good at what he does because he has a doctorate in it, and they have to go on a journey down into the South where all the people are hosting these big parties for the pianist to play at, and it turns out that the pianist is a black guy who it needs protection, essentially, because all the people down in the South are racist, and this is I'm pretty sure it's the 1960s, where there's still a lot of segregation, and people still have really high racial tensions, and it's a very interesting concept based, apparently, on a true story, good thing is it doesn't come off as based on a true story. It feels like a great story in its own right, which is just a testament to how well it was written. So, I start off with my positives. Actually, you know what? Never mind. I'm going to start off with my one negative, which I have for this movie. My only negative is that there are three members in the Don Shirley trio, and the other two who aren't Don Shirley have basically no development. They're kind of just background guys who happen to be in the trio. And it's kind of disappointing because they're always with the other two on their journey, but they don't really interact much, and they kind of just show up whenever they're performing, and it's just a little disappointing, but it doesn't hamper the most important aspect of this movie, which is the relationship between Don Shirley and Tony Lip. And that is really the best part of this movie, and it's the focus of this movie, which is what makes it so good. So both of the main characters, both Tony and Don, have incredible personalities, and both actors have amazing chemistry with each other. Don Shirley is this kind of rich and sort of high and mighty guy who's got literally has an apartment above Carnegie Hall, and he sits on a throne, and he wears these extravagant robes, and he's never sort of associated with the common people, and he doesn't realize that there's something wrong with him in that aspect, is that he doesn't have a grounded view, because he's always seen everything from above, looking down as sort of a rich man. And Tony Lip is the tough guy from the streets of New York who deals with things and kind of doesn't care that much about, see how professional I am, because he's in every one of my videos, who it doesn't really care about his hygiene. He kind of doesn't have great vocabulary. He's kind of racist at the beginning, but obviously fixes that through his great relationship and friendship with Don Shirley. And it's the personality that really drives this movie, and it's the two main characters that are the focus and the best part of it. This movie also has great foreshadowing. They have little moments where something will happen, and then they'll bring it back full circle in the end, and it really just is satisfying, essentially. It makes the movie feel more complete, and it's just kind of fun to look back and say, oh, I kind of remember that, but it ends up being a very important aspect of the movie that might have just been treated as a joke earlier. Also, my other favorite part of this movie was just how it showed the pros and cons of every aspect of each of the characters. You have the black guy, you have the white guy, the black guy who's rich, the white guy who's middle to low class, and it shows the pros and cons of each. The rich guy who has had a great education and sort of lived his life above the rest, he knows more about education, he knows more about the world, he's traveled around, he speaks other languages, he knows what to do in certain situations that require being more educated and being more, he doesn't have as much of an, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not as aggressive as Tony. But also, it shows that he doesn't really know how to interact with some people when they are lower class, because he sort of sees himself as high and mighty. he also doesn't really know what people do that are lower class. He has never had fried chicken. He doesn't really realize that there's another world going by because he's lived his life above everyone else. And then on Tony's side, he's shows that he knows what to do in certain situations when there does require a little bit of aggression, when it does require just being kind of down on the streets guy who knows how people work a little bit better. But then also it shows that he's a racist, and well, he sort of racist. He's not really blatantly racist, but there are definitely things, especially near the beginning of the movie, that show that he was raised in this way to kind of look down on the African American people there. And he gets the job and he's kind of reluctant about it. But it's great pros and cons of every situation, and I feel like it makes the movie really balanced because it doesn't focus, oh, this is how bad racism is. It also shows how good that both sides can be, and it's a great racial commentary through that aspect, especially because of how strong their friendship is. It breaks the boundaries of racism, which makes it a great racial commentary. Finally, I just want to talk about the comedy of the movie, which is what really most surprised me. I expected mostly just a racial commentary Oscar-y sort of movie, but it was really funny. There's lots of situational comedy. The dialogue is amazing, especially with how good the actors are. There's always something funny lifting up the lower, more depressing moments of tension and racism, but there's always something funny going on, and both characters have their moments of, through their personalities, of how they can be funny, and it really makes a movie a lot more enjoyable of an experience. And in my opinion, because it is enjoyable, it delivers the message of how powerful the racial tension was in the 60s and how obviously still carries a little bit into today. And it makes you think even though you're enjoying it. And that's probably the best aspect, in my opinion. Finally, the set design was amazing. 1960s, everything. You get everything from grand theaters where they're performing to the dinky closets and the bars, the lower class bars, and it just makes the whole movie feel grounded in time. It doesn't really feel like it was shot in today, because it could have been back then just someone having a camera. So I really enjoyed Green Book. I hope this review wasn't too rambly. I'm still trying to get my thoughts together, but I recommend that everyone see it, especially because I can see it being very, very prominent at the Oscars, and personally it might be my film of the year, behind movies like that I enjoyed more personally, like Avengers: Infinity War and A Quiet Place, which are the only two that are above this, in my opinion, that I've seen this year. So I give Green Book 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you go see it too. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in another video.